As a kid, I loved watching Tom and Jerry, and I'm sure you did too. And so did Priyanka, who describes it as one of the happiest memories she had as a child. So naturally, when she had her first son, she allowed him to watch a harmless little cartoon on YouTube in hopes that it would have the same effect on him as Tom and Jerry did on her. The little boy instantly loved the cartoon, but the effect that this cartoon had on him was radically different from the effect Tom and Jerry had on you and I. The cartoon made it look like Priyanka's son was hooked on to an addictive substance, one that made him extremely anxious and hyperactive the moment it was taken away from him. Moreover, his speech was delayed. Priyanka was extremely worried because her peers had children that were speaking sentences while her son stayed quiet. The main difference being these kids did not watch that cartoon. What cartoon was this? Cocomelon. And Priyanka's case was rather mild. For several other parents, the intensity was much worse. They said their kids had been turned into zombies because of Cocomelon. This got so bad that there was a literal TikTok trend around it where parents would play the Cocomelon theme and the child would rush towards the TV. And mind you, this isn't one of those cases that make you say, you know what, it's normal. Kids tend to do that at that age. A preschool curriculum development expert and teacher, Jerica Sands, reported that shows like Cocomelon are intentionally designed in a way that they have an effect on your kids similar to addictive substances. The kid experiences overstimulation and withdrawal symptoms just like cigarettes.
एकदम कड़क माल है ना.
My aunt has been a speech therapist for more than 2 decades now, and over the last 5 years, since shows like Cocomelon grew in popularity, she has never been short of work. There's literally an excess of kids with speech and understanding related problems, and this show is just the tip of the iceberg. Now, some of you might think, wait, it's not that deep. After all, how many kids might be watching YouTube, that too in India? The numbers would shock you. A survey was conducted in the top 10 cities of India, which showed that 76% of parents were showing their kids YouTube. Now, either the parent is picking what the kid watches, or the kid is given an iPad and left to navigate on its own. The problem is, YouTube is designed in a way that the viewer's time on the app is optimized to be maximum. Now, unlike Priyanka, YouTube doesn't care about what would be the best thing for her son. Instead, it cares about how to keep him hooked onto the app for as long as possible. As a result, when a parent or a child opens the app, YouTube recommends a particular video that is most likely to accomplish this objective. And currently, that video is Cocomelon. It is the most viewed children's show online with more than 100 million views and makes the third largest channel on YouTube. And it is single-handedly destroying the brains of our children.
कौन सब्जेक्ट अच्छा लगता है?
बैगन.
Wait till you see how this is happening because it's creepy as f. An investigation conducted by the New York Times showed how Cocomelon's creator Moonbug tests these episodes on real babies. A child is kept in a room with two screens. One plays Cocomelon and the other, called the Distractatron, plays mundane day-to-day events. Think parents cooking, preparing coffee, taking a dog on a walk. Basically, all the things that the kid should be seeing in real life, asking questions about, and interacting with out of curiosity in order to develop and grow. The moment a child looks away from Cocomelon towards the Distractatron, a researcher makes note of it, and that particular scene is changed into a more engaging, more addictive one with a variety of brain-frying techniques. For starters, the show has extremely bright colors and high saturation, the exact same that social media apps use in their icons and notification alerts. It has fast-paced edits and animated transitions more than any other children's show. It also has repeated words that stick in the kids' brains so that their attention doesn't drop anywhere and they keep coming back for more. A child development expert, Dr. Kristen, reported how a child's average screen engagement is 11% when shown a random clip, but this number jumps to 74% when it's switched to Cocomelon. And while on one hand, Cocomelon's research team works day and night to keep your child hooked to the show, YouTube rewards them by recommending longer episodes, playlists, and compilations of it to keep your child hooked. And just pause for a second to realize the scale of this. We're all running a mass experiment on our children that's completely unregulated, outside of labs, without any consent forms, on YouTube. With every single view that Cocomelon gets, they acquire a data point, valuable information about what our children like, where their attention peaks and where it drops off, what are the type of themes they enjoy, and this is where parents make it worse. They're happy because right now the child isn't being cranky, it's happy, it's smiling while they can finally get a moment's rest and maybe get some work done or simply enjoy the silence. But what they don't know is that they're working overtime, not to make their child's life better, but to make Cocomelon more engaging at the cost of their child's development. And now, some of you might still think, wait, aren't all cartoons like this? After all, we also grew up watching Tom and Jerry and we turned out fine. Mind you, Cocomelon is very different from Tom and Jerry. I'll explain how they differ in a bit, but first let's take a look at how the damage has already been done to our children's brains. In 2023, a study conducted by the Journal of Psychiatric Research showed that any preschool child with a screen time of more than 2 hours was 2 times more likely to develop a learning disability and a speech disorder. Child psychologist Melissa Dworsky reported that shows like Cocomelon affect brain development at age 2, but the results are seen at age 9 when the child's ability to self-regulate emotions gets severely affected and the child turns hyper. And now coming to the difference between Cocomelon and Tom and Jerry, the problem started when the size of our screens became smaller. From the TV, we started consuming things on our tablets or our phones. This is when the nature of the relationship that we have with media became two-way. Tom and Jerry used to be a one-way street. I'll explain what I mean by this, but if you learned something new up until this point, consider subscribing to the channel as that's what helps us stay insanely motivated. The writers of Tom and Jerry didn't have access to tons of watch time data that told them when the child's attention spiked or dropped off. They did not know what parts to edit to make the show more engaging. They didn't have the chance to run experiments on our children in a lab, show them two screens to understand how to make the show more catchy. They were simply writing with the goal to make it funnier in the hope that you and I would watch another episode the next day. Which brings me to the second biggest difference. The platform that we watch Tom and Jerry on, the TV, didn't show us 5 other programs that we were most likely to enjoy because we liked Tom and Jerry. It did not have a recommendation algorithm. Nothing was trying actively to keep us glued to the screen for longer. Also, Tom and Jerry came at 12 p.m. on Cartoon Network every single day. If you missed that episode, you had to watch the repeat telecast in the evening or wait for the next episode on the next day. Nothing was on demand, but shows like Cocomelon on the other hand are. They're also designed intentionally to keep our children hooked, and YouTube happens to reward this kind of design. And while researching for this video, I discovered another crazy thing. You might have noticed as adults, you and I are extremely bored nowadays, which is kind of why we've been scrolling all the time on short form content like Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts, because every time we feel bored, we take out our phone, start scrolling, and that starts a reward cycle wherein our brain says, if you feel bored, start scrolling. But the problem is, feeling bored is actually great for brain development.
क्या बात कर रहे हैं?
And that's not something made up. Neuroscientists have said this, but the moment we go into that behavior reward cycle of scrolling every time we feel bored, we hinder our brain's development. And now put into perspective how that cycle affects a developing child's brain. And what's even scarier is that by the time we realize the problem, it might be too late, like everything else. When industry started adding sugar to everything, it was marketed as energy. It took us decades to realize how bad it is for our health. When lead was added to paint, it stayed there for centuries, marketed as harmless before finally being removed. And now, real talk. Everything that I've been saying in this video is making Cocomelon sound like an evil corporation that's out to get our children, which quite frankly they might be, but above all else, they are a content business that thrives on attention. Optimizing it is their number one goal, and the only reason why this feels so creepy and shady is because their audience is preschool kids. If you thought Cocomelon was working in the best interest of children, then you would be the foolish one, because Cocomelon even responded to all this criticism by saying our show isn't an alternative to sending your kids out to play. The kid shouldn't be on YouTube 24/7. We need to understand that the real culprit isn't Cocomelon, it's parenting. And we can fix that if we get our act together. Because let's face it, over time, Cocomelon is going to get more powerful, more engaging, more addictive and catchy for the kids' eyes as it acquires more data. The solution, in my opinion, is to go old school. For starters, raising kids without screens. I have a 2-year-old niece whose parents have made an amazing decision. No screens till she turns 5. All her learning would be via interacting with the surroundings or through books. Her parents would be actively involved in that process instead of giving her a screen. reading with her, explaining things to her as they do them, having her ask questions and be curious. Or if you feel like that's too extreme, even if you plan on using a screen, maybe use it the way our parents did, a fixed show at a fixed time on TV that the child has no control over. As I grow older and see the world being more and more in love with the screen, I realize that the best way to do anything is the old school way. But that's just me. What do you think about this? How can we fix this problem? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you learned something new from this video, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one.